Welcome to this test video. We're now going to look at game 2 in this playoff at the Isle of Man chess tournament, the strongest open tournament of 2018. So Wojtaszek won in the first game. So very simple math, quick math. Naiditsch has to win to force an Armageddon game. But can he do that? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's look at the game. Naiditsch white pieces, Wojtaszek the black pieces, and Naiditsch opens with e4. Decides to play aggressively with the king pawn move, knight f3, d6, and if d4 the open Sicilian, we're going to have a Naidorf. And Wojtaszek is one of the world's leading experts in the Naidorf, along with perhaps Maxim Varshy-Lagrave, so Naiditsch avoids that with bishop to b5 check, knight d7, castles, and a6. So white gives up the bishop pair by taking on d7, but he's getting quick development, and now he plays d4, and we're transposing to some sort of an open Sicilian, but white takes with the queen. If you take with a knight, perhaps you're not getting the same kind of advantages as he does in the game, trying to use the quick development. Queen takes d4, knight c7, queen c7, knight c3, e6, and bishop f4. So here we see the quick development in action. White has all these pieces out, and black undeniably has the advantage of the bishop pair and a solid pawn structure, but he's lacking in development. So we have these pieces here on the back rank. And well, white is preparing to set up an attack on the d6 pawn here as well. So what to do? Black played bishop c6. What about e5? A very good and logical question. e5 is hitting two pieces, the queen and the knight, queen and the bishop. And seemingly that's bad for white, but it turns out white has the Zwischenzug, the in-between move, knight d5. Now if you take the queen, simply take a rook, you're no longer attacking my bishop, and I take on a8, and white is winning. This can't be allowed, so you have to move the queen, but where to move the queen? Let's take an example, let's like queen d8, but now I just hammer on e5, boom, forward, and you're in deep trouble. You're in so much trouble that, well, knight e7, knight c7, you have to lose the queen, otherwise it's smothered mate. And bishop e7, I can even take on g7 here, hitting the rook, and still I have this threat of knight c7. So this is catastrophic, and Wojtaszek avoided that with bishop to c6, rook 8 d1, and rook d8. And here, according to my database, the first new move of the game, and indeed a very powerful move. This is typical in many Sicilian positions arising out of the Smith-Morra. So white played a very aggressive move here. He went in. Can you see it? Can you see it? Knight d5. Boom. Forward chess. Pieces forward. Attack. The king's in the center. It must be attacked. So knight d5 is the most direct way to do that. And after et, we're down a piece, but we have opened the e file, and we're going to get a check there. This actually isn't too comfortable for black to deal with. Well, for one, you can't start running, which it didn't do, because, well, I think a4 should be a strong move here. We keep the attack and we get our piece back because this guy doesn't have squares. It's goodbye to the bishop. So he has to interpose. He interposed knight e7. And here actually a4 is very interesting. He did play knight c5. A forward move, attacking, but a4 has some really interesting lines. We're attacking the bishop. If we win the piece back and keep the attack, it's just boom, game over. But bishop d7, and here the computer gives rook takes e7. A hell of a move. Well, king takes looks like it's out of the question. Rook e1 check. You have to interpose the bishop, and okay, I'm only done the exchange, and now knight g5. No. Attacking with everything, you can't take it. Bishop takes, and everything falls apart, and white has only done the exchange here, and knight f7 is coming. This is winning for white. We're very close to it at least. The other option is bishop takes e7, which looks more natural, but now queen takes, rook f8, and rook e1. And despite white being a rook down, this is an overwhelming position for white. There are going to be threats on the bishop of e7, and turns out that this is the best move to give the bishop back, and then white is only down the exchange and keeps a hell of an attack. So this would have been interesting, but okay, a blitz game, and we saw knight to g5 by Naiditsch here, h6, and now knight to e4. After f5, Naiditsch decided to take on d6. Now surprisingly, this gives black 3 minor pieces after this trade here for the rook, but white has 2 pawns, very dangerous pawns, and he's coming forward in the center with pins and pawns, and this will be really difficult to deal with, especially in a blitz game. c5 hitting the queen, queen f6, queen b4, attack on b7, which is even tough to deal with, king f7, takes the pawn, and now it's 3 pawns, rook and 3 pawns for 3 minor pieces, but black's coordination is terrible, and he's actually should be losing here. Queen c7, queen takes b2, d6, seemingly winning 1 piece back, but Naiditsch wants more. He doesn't take on e7, he plays d7, because this pawn is very dangerous and about the queen. Knight c6, do we queen the pawn? No, he wants more, rook to e8. The pawn is getting rid of the queen, and there's also ideas of rook b1, and this bishop doesn't have any squares. After a long think here, Wojtaszek played rook g8, rook b1 hitting the bishop, and black has to give it up. We can take on g8, but this is actually a nice move, because it looks like for a second that, okay, black can just take here, takes, and king takes. Wrong. Queens with check. That means we get to keep the queen, an extra queen, and white wins. Knight Wojtaszek didn't fall for this, he played knight to d8. We have a trade on g8, rook b8, and well, black is in time here to cover the knight, so he keeps 2 pieces for the rook, but on the other hand, white has 2 pawns now, and a distant pass pawn, which is very hard to deal with. And even though at this stage here, rook to a5, he loses the d pawn, this should be winning for white. I mean, you keep this a distant pass pawn, and at some stage you just, you know, you push your pawns and you create another pass pawn, and black can keep up with action on both wings. So let's see, a5, bishop a7, h4. So white is advancing calmly here, but at this stage both players were down to about between 5 and 15 seconds each on the clock, but they do have a 2-second increment, so they started to accumulate some time again. Rook to b3, bishop to d4. Black is just moving back and forth, but mostly trying to keep an eye on the a7 square with 2 pieces to contain this a pawn. Rook b7, h5, g3. So at some stage white has to advance here on the king side, but he's taking his time, making some threats. Eventually he comes out g8, and during the live broadcast it was funny. They had the blind spot. Oh no, he blundered the rook. No, he didn't, because if you take, which he didn't do, then just a7 and queens. But yeah, things are happening really fast here. King e6, rook h7. Rook doesn't have an easy path back, but it doesn't matter, because, well, you should just build up f3, h5, and pressure here. The rook gets out. But let's see what happened. King f3, and now, I don't know, momentary loss of muscular coordination, a lapse, and Naiditsch plays king e4. Okay. King c2 is probably the best move here, and now you just start to advance after g4, like we mentioned earlier, but king e4 was just a brain fart, and now he's losing the f2 pawn, and now the win gets more and more difficult. The game continued. Fortunately for, of course, you can't take on g3, because, well, a7 is coming. Bishop g1. But now the question is, why didn't he play a7? Aha, yeah, then he takes on a7, He didn't play a7 because now we take, rook takes, and knight takes, which looks like it should be really close to a draw. White might still have some chances, I don't know, but either way, some fast moves here. King f1, king g2, knight e7, now back with control over a7. Now the rook wants to get out, rook h8, rook d8, and now white, at this stage, he was just trying to get his bearings back a little bit, but now all of a sudden he gets in with a king, king to g5, and black decides to sacrifice that in turn for getting the a-pawn. He gets it here, knight takes a6. Looks like white has a skewer here. 2 pieces on the a-file, but bishop e3 check is just in time. And then the knight comes back, but this is too expensive because white now has 2 pawns, and that's too hard for black to deal with. He played king f6. A funny moment here, king g4. It looks like a natural move to play king g4, but this would have won Wojtaszek the tournament on the spot, because after knight here you have to give up the rook, and this you can't win. And actually after g5 you can just take it and elementary draw. But he saw it, he played king g4 and king f5, rook f3, okay, protecting the pawn, attacking the bishop, and then he just starts pushing eventually g4. And the knight doesn't have a square, it's lost, king g6, takes, and now some final tricks, rook f5, if king takes h4, rook check, picking up the bishop, so king to g4, rook b5, bishop to d2, h5, and now bishop g5 blocking the rook from protecting the pawn, but a final trick by Naiditsch. Well, not the final trick here, the position is winning, but a nice trick to end the game after king takes h5. King to f5, and you don't have a good square for the bishop, you're going to get mated in some cases, and if you try to keep control, either play here or stay on the diagonal. Either way, you're going to end up in zugzwang. After any rook move here on the h-file, you have to play king h6, and I take your bishop, and then I checkmate you. So after king to f5, Wojtaszek resigned. So 1-1, which means only one thing. We had 2 games of 5 plus 2, 5 minutes with 2-second increment blitz game, but the final will be an Armageddon game with 5 minutes for white and 4 minutes for black, but draw odds for black. So stay tuned for the Armageddon game, which will decide the Isle of Man tournament 2018. See you then.